In dieser Lektion lernen wir über Reflexive Pronomen im Accusativ und Dative. In this lesson, we learn about reflexive pronouns in accusative and dative cases. First, let's understand what are reflexive pronouns. They are pronouns which put emphasis back on the subject of a sentence. I'm sure you're all familiar with the reflexive pronouns in English like myself, himself, herself, itself, etc., right? That's just what reflexive pronomen in German are. Let's look at an example sentence in English to understand better. Ben poured himself a cup of coffee. See how the reflexive pronoun himself is pointing back to the subject Ben? Unlike in English, the reflexive pronomen in German are either dative or accusative. Let's quickly have a look at them. Reflexive Pronomen im Accusativ sind mich, dich, sich, uns, euch, an sich. Reflexive Pronomen im Dativ sind mir, dir, sich, uns, euch, an sich. Do you notice something familiar here? They are the same as Personalpronomen im Dativ und Accusativ, except a few exceptions. The reflexive pronomen for er, sie and es and sie is sich. Now we know what reflexive pronomen are, right? But when and how do you use them? There is a group of verbs called reflexive Verben. Some of them are sich erkälten, sich ärgern, sich freuen, sich ausruhen, sich beeilen. All of these verbs always have a sich before them. That's how you know that they're reflexive. Whenever you use these verbs, it is mandatory that you use a reflexive pronoun, mostly in the accusative case. Zum Beispiel: Ich freue mich auf deinen Besuch. The subject is ich, that's why we use the reflexive pronomen mich. If the subject were sie, then what would have been the reflexive pronomen? That's right, sich. Sie freut sich auf deinen Besuch. Let's continue practicing this for a while. Take a few minutes to memorize the reflexive pronomen if you have to, and then come back for the quiz. All you have to do is to fill in the correct reflexive pronomen im Accusativ. Here is the first one. Sehr gut. Beschwert sich über das schlechte Essen. The next one is: Richtig. Ich ruhe mich abends aus. The next one is: Richtig. Joanna verliebt sich in Patrick. And the last one is: Richtig. Hast du dich erkältet? The position of a reflexive pronoun in a sentence is also important. In a Hauptsatz, the reflexive pronoun is placed either after the conjugated verb or after the subject. Zum Beispiel: Das Kind zieht sich die Jacke an. Letzte Woche habe ich mich mit Freunden getroffen. In Nebensätze, the pronoun stays after the subject. Zum Beispiel: Lina kann nicht kommen, weil sie sich verletzt hat. For W-Fragen or Ja-Nein-Fragen also, the reflexive pronoun is placed after the subject. Zum Beispiel: Wann kauft ihr euch eine neue Wohnung? Hast du dir das Gesicht gewaschen? Here is a question for you. Arrange the following words in the correct order. Sehr gut. Zum Geburtstag wünsche ich mir ein neues Auto. Now the most important question is, how do I know when to use reflexive pronomen im Dative and when to use reflexive pronomen im Accusative? The answer is simple. When there are no direct objects, Accusative Objekte, in a sentence, then you use reflexive pronomen im Accusativ. Zum Beispiel, ich wasche mich. But when there is a accusative object, a direct object in a sentence, then you use reflexive pronomen im Dativ. Zum Beispiel, ich wasche mir die Hände. Here we have used the dative reflexive pronoun mir because there is a direct object, die Hände, in the sentence. Let's look at one more example for both of the cases. Du siehst dich im Spiegel an. Du siehst dir einen Film an. In the first sentence, there is no direct object, so we use the accusative reflexive pronoun für du, dich. But in the second sentence, there is a direct object, einen Film. So we have used the dative reflexive pronoun für du, dir. Klar? Other than that, there are some reflexive verbs which always have an accusative object. For these verbs, the reflexive pronomen is always dative. Some of these verbs are sich etwas kaufen, sich etwas wünschen, sich etwas aussuchen. Let's look at an example sentence. Ich kaufe mir eine Tasse Kaffee. Let's practice. Identify if the reflexive pronomen in the sentences is dative or accusative. I'll do the first one with you. Die Kinder waschen sich. In this sentence, there is no direct object, so the reflexive pronomen sich is accusative. Now it's your turn. Is the reflexive pronomen in this sentence dative or accusative? Richtig. In this sentence, there is a direct object, sein Gesicht, so the reflexive pronomen sich is dative. Here is the next one. Sehr gut. There is a direct object in this sentence as well, die Haare, so the reflexive pronomen uns is dative. The next sentence is richtig. Since there is no direct object here, the reflexive pronomen dich is accusative. And the last one is richtig. Since there is a direct object here, einen Mantel, the reflexive pronomen mir is dative. Gut gemacht. If you have any doubts, do let me know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next lesson. Cheers!